All right, we are back on Play It Forward today with filmmaker, writer, director, composer Joel Moss Levinson. Joel, thanks for being on the show.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You got it. The film is Passing History, and it's a very cute little short about a young woman in the throes of passing a history exam. Um, can you give us a little background on yourself as a filmmaker, as a person? And if you'd like to set up the short film after that, that would be great.
Sure. Let me see what I can do. I was in my early 20s. By day, I was a children's musician, and at night, I was singing dirty comedy songs at stand-up clubs. Then the internet started to accept videos as a thing, so I started to make them out of my stupid songs, and I became the first person on earth to make a living winning online video contests. It sort of blew me up. I had my 15 minutes guest spot on the Tonight Show, cover of the front page of the New York Times, and it was all for these branded content pieces, mostly musical. And it was basically me trying to turn comedy and music into funny videos on the internet. And as a result, I don't consider myself a filmmaker, or didn't consider myself a filmmaker, but I had to learn all the things I needed when I wanted to get a joke on screen. So it was basically just, oh, I have an idea for a joke, or I have an idea for a funny song. And what do I need to do to make it happen? Well, I need a camera. I need a tripod. Then I started to realize, oh, maybe I need friends for this. Oh, maybe I need to score it. Oh, maybe I need these variations in shots. Oh, maybe I need a reaction shot that's going to make it actually sell. And I just started to very haphazardly put together some of the skills of filmmaking in an attempt, again, just to tell jokes and
That's
to get
so
them right.
cool.
So,
That's
yeah,
great. That's so
so
funny.
that's and then this was just I had access to a really beautiful college campus, which is very underused, called Antioch College in Yellow Springs, which is one of the places that I've called home.
Where's
And
that?
it is sort of between Dayton and Columbus. It's most famous as the home of Dave Chappelle,
Oh, Ohio,
and
right?
in
Yeah.
Ohio, yeah.
Okay.
And this Antioch College is this great 150-year-old institution that sort of went out of business and brought itself back from the dead, but is a small student body, so there was like a lot of space, and they were very friendly and open to shooting stuff there. So I had this gorgeous, 1950s extensive college library to shoot in, and the wood shops that they had, and the classrooms that they had, and they were like, yeah, great, come in and shoot whatever you want, which is, I would say, one of the biggest advantages of making stuff in Ohio or outside of LA, where I also lived. With you don't need permits; all you need is somebody who'll say yes, and invite you in. And so it was. I knew I had the space, and then I thought, well, what'll make me laugh? And write a couple songs and do a little silly musical thing. So the concept was a young woman in college who's trying to pass a history course. She gets handed a magical object that brings the characters of historical books to life, and she can try to use that to help pass her test. And then hopefully hilarity ensues.
Well done. Well, great intro, great setup to all that. Appreciate it. My favorite, I think, scene was in when she's actually kind of the arc kind of shifts and she's sitting on the couch and all the characters are in the background. She's sitting on the couch studying the characters in the background. I think you have the king or some Roman conqueror dancing. That just so you know, that was my
Good.
favorite joke in the bit.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the basic, you know, I made the thing and then I got to the end and I real like I had written it and I realized the story I told was just a very standard story of how a magical object is totally shitty in, excuse my language. Is that
That's
okay?
all
You want me
good.
to
Yeah,
read
yeah.
you?
We're on the
Uh,
internet,
how a ma-
so
how a
yeah.
magical object is like totally shitty in actual and in every story. And then I was like, you know what? I think I want to call this out a little bit more. So the thing that I'm proudest of, which is that while that dance is happening, is the lyrical song, which is happening in the background. Which let me see if I can get the lyrics. It's been a minute. So I mean, magical things have a lesson to teach us, and in movies, that lesson is don't use magical things. That's it. the Ark of the Covenant, the Holy Grail, the Mask from the Mask, Jumanji, every ring from Lord of the Rings. It's basically just that. So it was like no matter what it is, in every movie, a magical object ends up being a terrible thing. So this was just riffing on that.
Well, that's great, man. It's interesting that you say that because as I'm trying to understand, I've done a couple of hundred, maybe near of these shows and watched. So I've watched a range of short films, a lot of quirky stuff, and a lot of pretty straight narrative stuff. And some of the quirky stuff, it kind of lends towards a specific audience. This film kind of is more on the quirky, kind of niche audience side. And and every film I've ever come across, there's always some layer of really substrate of meaning. There's really a foundation in it. And I find that in this movie too. This is no different. And the meaning that I find in it, and I wonder how it connects to what you're talking about here with magical objects not working, is there's no shortcut. That's what I saw in this movie. There's no shortcut. She tries to take one and she's finally just has to, succeed on her own merits. What,
So
yeah,
that is
talk to
in
me.
there.
Yeah.
That is in there. But it's interesting. My uncle, a couple years, when did he saw it, and then he shared something with me, which is just a thing we now talk and think about in my family a lot. But are you familiar with the book called The Gift? So
I may have heard of it. I think to catch me
let me
up.
t- let me
Yeah.
t- yes, The Gift is really it is a historical look at the concept of gift giving,
Oh,
and how that plays out and why it's important. And if I'm going to boil this 800-page book down into one sentence,
thank
it
you.
is: we receive gifts, and if you don't give them away, they turn to poison. Okay? This is the essential crux of like every single story that you've ever heard, really ever. You get the gift from the gods in the ancient Greek myths or from whoever, and if you aren't using it to help others, it destroys you. And that's like the actual, that's like it wasn't in my mind as I was doing it, except that it is the actual undercurrent of how we as a Western civilization talk about every single act of gift giving. It's like you get the thing, you get the remote. Adam Sandler gets the remote in Click, and the Nazis get the Ark of the Covenant. And if those things are to be used to enhance the self or build your power, they are destructive. Groundhog Day, you get the gift of reliving the day over and over again. And until you learn how to give those things away, or use them for a higher purpose, they turn to poison in your life. As artists, I think artists, and when I say artists, I basically include anybody who's trying to create anything on earth that wasn't there yesterday. But I think the point is, you're given an idea, and you're given whatever it is. You're given the ability to play music, or you're given a family that raises you with a piano in the corner, or you're given the ability to see light and shadow and be a DP, and whatever it is, and you use those things to make the world. You have to get rid of them. And getting rid of them is to put them into the world somehow. So if you are, that's why I think that's the history of rock stars who get really big and end up with abuse problems, is because they're, this is the book. This is like the book's writing. It's the failure to be able to give away as much as is coming into you. So you have to figure out ways to get it rid. All of that said, not a single thing in my mind when I was like, I got a bunch of really good costumes and a really funny library, so I'm going to throw this stuff together. But I do think there's a core of truth to that, and a way to approach the world with that in mind.
Well, it's
Since
beautiful.
you wanted
Thank
to
you.
go deeper on this stuff, I
No,
think
that's what we're here to
I
do,
love that stuff.
man. That's what
Yeah.
we're here to do. And I really appreciate you saying it because it's, I definitely connect with it. I think we all can connect with it. I think, last night my wife and I were driving home and we were reflecting on ghosts and demons. It was a dark night, rides home, and we were happened to be talking about that subject. And the one of the things that I shared with her is that my understanding of any kind of ghost or demon in myth, and specifically in reference to Japanese allegory and myth, is that it's an over zealousness. It's a possessiveness. It's a coveting.
Mm-hmm.
There's a desire there that's gone out of bounds of the human realm, constraints, and it's become demonic, and so that kind of hoarding, that wanting to
Yeah, I see it.
possess.
It's like an over indexing on the self
Yeah,
and the
yeah,
singular point of view that you have, whether that's a desire for
yeah,
love or money or power or whatever
yeah,
the thing
yeah,
is.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just the
Yeah, I think
opposite.
that's there.
It's interesting. Yeah. It's really cool. What do you think it is, in your makeup, in your history, that that kind of spawned this work at that time for you? What were you potentially going through in your life? What did you want to express? Where were you at?
Yeah, I mean, very simply, I wanted to make a feature film and I wanted to get some miles under my belt doing something that wasn't
Mm,
for anybody else. And it wasn't because I had been doing a lot of branded content production and I'd been doing a lot of, getting hired by brands on YouTube to make their stuff. And I wanted something that was like purely to make me laugh and learn some things
cool.
about how to execute a lot of shots in a short amount of time, take advantage of the space, get some what play around with my camera, play around with friends and crew, and directing in that set, and it was perfect for that. It
That's
was like
great.
it was like I had a closet full of costumes, and I had enough gear sitting around that from previous gigs. In the previous hired gigs, I would find little pieces of gear that I would like buy it for that shoot and then keep it, buy it for that shoot and then keep it, and all of a sudden I had enough stuff. Now this is before my iPhone was the greatest camera that ever existed, but like it was like putting together a set of stuff that would be fun for me to work with, and then just having at it. And so yeah, I use this as a training ground for my feature.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, it looks like it was a great training ground since making it. How have you been personally changed?
I used to have a joke in my stand up, which was about, I can't even remember how I phrased it, but it was about how you evaluate a president based on how your own life is. Like you don't actually give a shit about how the president's doing. It's like, how are you doing? And for that reason, I like loved Clinton because Clinton got me, that was the first, I lost my virginity under Clinton. And I had a terrible time with George Bush because my back went out for the first time under George Bush. Like that was the joke. So
Sure.
it's like, I can tell you how I've changed as a human being, but I can't tell you how I've changed as a result of the work, other than it's like a mile marker in the journey of who I am and to where I'm going.
Yeah.
So I feel like it increased my confidence level. It increased my confidence level telling jokes on camera. I'll tell you, I learned one huge thing, which is probably the most valuable thing I've learned, which is never shoot your never shoot the first shot that's going to appear on screen first.
Right.
That was what I
Yeah.
learned from
Yeah.
this. Like
Uh,
shoot starting in the middle so you can work the kinks out before people start to see what you're doing.
yeah.
And so yeah,
What did you learn about yourself?
I guess I learned that I prefer to shout orders at people behind a camera than I do to point the camera or fix the lights or swing the mic. Like I like captaining the ship more
Yeah.
than I do any of the other technical stuff. So this was a good played into that for me.
Cool. Well, it sounds like, another way to put that is like you like to be in charge of the vision and be able to, kind of paint with the palette of the filmmaking tools.
It
And
also is part
yeah,
of being a father, and now I have two kids who don't listen to me at all. So it was
right.
nice to be in a place where people do
Nice to be
do
heard.
listen to you.
I hear you. I hear you on that front. I got one of those kids. Joel Moss Levinson, filmmaker, writer, director, composer. The short is passing history. Thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for sharing everything. Kids, till next time on Play It Forward. Joel, can you wave that lifesaver? Good night.